Welcome, Rimjhim. Welcome to Awarenaari.
Thank you. Thank you for having me here. It's such a joy and a pleasure.
Thank you. I'm excited to talk to you about all your parenting content. I watch you and I'm learning so much from you by watching your videos on YouTube. So my question to you, Rimjhim, is can you give us some pointers now that to all those moms who have kids who are becoming teenagers soon? What can they do now? What should they uh, be thinking of in terms of what are the difficult years that are about to come in terms of raising teenagers?
Once again, really glad to be here. And it'll be my pleasure if I could be of any little help to anybody out there, any of the moms. It's tough. Parenting altogether is tough to begin with. And then people like us who have come to a new world and trying to, settle ourselves here, it adds an extra element, because we grew up with an absolutely different mindset back home in India. And here we're trying our level best to adapt and welcome the culture here, and it's not that we're not trying enough. It's just that my understanding has been that it is so different that even though we're thinking that we get it, there's some part that we still miss only because we just haven't experienced that, right? So if like somebody gives you a fruit and says, do you know what it tastes like?
Yeah.
And you will say everything that you can, like, I know what it tastes like, but till you don't taste it, you really don't know the actual taste of that fruit, right?
Yes.
And we are in the same position. We just will never get a chance to be a young kid here. So we will always try to understand, but we will not 100% understand. And I think that is one of the biggest realization that both my husband and I have had as parents, that we realize that we're trying to, adapt and adjust and provide everything that we think that our kids need here. But somehow definitely there's something missing. And one of the biggest things that I feel like we can tweak a little bit is our mindset. I'd like to start with that. That is probably 80% of, the issue here. And from that comes other small branches, like that's like the big main tree. And then there's like little branches of that mindset. By mindset, I mean, back home in India, or even I keep saying that it's India versus USA, but it's more like generation also. I've seen that even people who were raised and were brought up here, Americans, we have some people, local friends from here and other parts of the world, Europe and stuff. And you think that because they were raised in the Western world, they have this gap between them, this disconnect between them and their teenager. I feel like even they experience to some extent.
It's universal.
It's different generations. We probably felt it with our parents.
Definitely.
So mindset is one of the biggest thing that comes in between understanding your teenager, because we know and we've lived a certain way and we feel that that is the only way.
हमारे टाइम में ऐसा नहीं होता था. Like we try to recreate our childhood with our children.
And tell me, all of the moms and dads that might be watching this show, how many times have you said to your kid, oh, you're so lucky, back in my day, or my kids roll their eyes when I start my story with like, we came here with 2 suitcases, And the other thing, when I'm telling my kids to finish the food on their plate, do you know how many kids out there don't have food to eat? This is in our mind because that's what we experienced growing up. And then come here and we've provided such a different package to our kids. They would never know how kids actually go hungry because they have never seen that, or they've barely seen it, and they have absolutely not experienced it. Like growing up, I come from a decent middle class family, and I don't know if again anybody else felt that, but like buying ketchup, we called it tomato sauce in India, like buying a store brand was not the thing. Your mom made it at home because the one at the store was expensive, right?
Right,
And
right.
even things like Amul butter, like,
Yes,
you know, your mom made it at home.
right.
God, I did not know that how organic and yum the homemade butter would be. But you
Yes.
know, things like that. Our kids have never experienced that. We were able to provide them
Hmm.
such comfort,
Yes.
right? That
Yes.
their mindset is so different from ours. So we've provided them something. We
Hmm.
might as well understand it now,
Right.
right?
That's true.
We might as well keep it when our kids say something, just because it's something that we haven't experienced, or just because we don't understand and it's
Right.
so different or literally opposite of
Yes.
what we know, that
Yes.
doesn't mean that it's wrong. You
Yes.
know, I
Wrong or not to be understood. Like my kids, 10 and 12, they talk in meme language,
yes,
right? Kids
yes,
do that today. And when they talk, I don't have a clue what, because they've seen these memes together as siblings. And
right,
I don't understand it. And sometimes I find like, yeah, what is the whole point of it? Like as a
yeah,
parent, I don't understand, but then I have accepted it and I try to learn about it. I try
yeah.
to tell them, show me that meme so that I'm involved in it. But I agree with you that mindset wise, every generation goes through this.
Right, right. So
Yeah.
I'm not saying I'm a very stubborn person. I'm a very strong-headed person.
Hmm.
So I've not given up anything that I am. I've not dropped anything that I learned that made me who I am,
Hmm.
because that's my foundation. That's how I survive. I feed off of
Hmm.
whatever built me, right?
Right.
So I wouldn't suggest anybody to just drop that and change it and become like this new parent or like this new mindset person.
Right.
No, I'm just saying hold on to yours, because that's important for your core.
बिल्कुल.
But do understand that our child's core is a little different or
Mhm.
very different from ours.
Mhm.
Keep an open ear for it, right? Keep
Right.
an open mind for it. And
Mhm.
it's not easy.
Mhm.
Every time your child walks in, like I see my daughter wear a certain kind of outfit,
Right.
and I'm like, oh, like, you know, I'm like, I seriously
Yeah.
want to go say, beta, kapde thode se change kar lo, right?
Right. Right.
But then I look around myself, everybody's in the same outfit.
Yeah.
My daughter's not different. It's
Yeah.
my mind that's not used to seeing what
Yeah.
she's wearing.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah.
That'll be my first suggestion.
Yes. Very relatable and very true that having an open mindset in terms of parenting, how we were raised is not how our kids can be raised for any generation. That's true. And to keep an open mind with the things that they're saying and not rejecting it. Sometimes I feel as parents, and I'll talk about my friends, like the kind of things that kids watch on TV, like other unpacking videos, right? Someone is unpacking and kids are watching it. It's a thing these
Yeah,
days. Or people watching other videos and commenting on other people's videos. So
yeah,
sometimes some of my friends, they are like, why would someone watch that? Like what is the fun in it? The other people doing something and you're watching it and they judge the kid and they, first of all, you're giving them the freedom to watch something, and then when they're watching it, you're like, no, 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 don't watch this. Watch something that I approve of.
yeah.
So there's a lot of conflict there. So that's where I feel that these are little things where we can open our mind and try to be on the same page with this technologically advanced generation. They are
Generation,
very tech,
yeah.
yeah, very tech oriented generation we are raising. So yes.
The second thing I would suggest is, every time when your mindset does clash, it
Mhm.
will clash, right? Of course, we are trying to adjust and accommodate, and we are trying to keep an open mind, but it will clash no matter what. There will be a clash.
Mhm.
That actually happens in every relationship, but let's just stick to the teenagers stuff right now.
Mhm.
Every time when that clashes, I've learned, I've made this mistake, and I've almost like, unfortunately, lost connection with my kids
Mhm.
for a period of time. Like, you know, for months, there was like so much argument, so much of disagreement,
Mhm.
that you just either didn't talk to each other, or if you talk to each other, then it just quickly landed in a fight or a very
Mhm.
unpleasant situation, right?
Mhm.
So, over a period of years, I've realized that the best thing is, when you disagree, just back off.
Mhm.
That's the other mindset block that I had, and I don't know if others have it too.
Mhm.
If I back off, I'm letting them win,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
And I'm giving them the wrong message,
Right.
right? If
Mhm.
I back off, they're going to think that they have an upper hand on me. or they're just going to think that, oh, this is free now. Oh, I can just do anything. Partly that is true. But what also happens is that, at least happened with me, when I don't back off and I go head on with my child is immature and unreasonable. He or she's going to say so many things that's going to get my goat. And then I'm going to come back with an even more unreasonable reaction, right?
Yes.
Or I'm going to take the conversation to the next level of unreasonableness. She can get away with it. He can get away with it because they're kids. I'm not, right? And at the end of the whole scenario, I found out that I did not gain anything, but I lost a whole lot, right?
Very true.
So
very powerful, yeah.
When I feel, nowadays I do that a lot. I back off, and between you and me, and let all the kids listen to this, I back off only to strategize. I back off only to come back with something that is going to be so powerful and so strong that'll help the situation and not mess the situation. I want to address the problem and not become a problem myself. What happens is, if you don't back off, before you know, you're the problem.
Yes.
Right away, my kids will attack me because I would have said something, I would have reacted in a very unreasonable way, right?
Yes.
And then the focus becomes me.
Yes.
Right? If I need them to do something, if I need them to clean the room, right? And they'll say something super immature, it's going to get me annoyed.
Yes.
Then I'm going to say something, and then the focus is going to be like, oh, mom.
Yes.
Look how unreasonable you are.
Yes.
So back off and breathe and like think about it. Come back with the game plan, which is that's my other thing. Keep everything very crisp and precise. I do this again. Whatever I'm preaching, trust me, I've done it, and I've hurt myself and my relationship with my kids so damn bad that I had to look at things a different way. This is the other thing that parents do. I did. Sit down and explain to your kids.
Oh, yes.
What's the reason? What is the reason why you should do this? Why am I doing this?
Yes.
You've lost the kid at the first word that came out of your mouth. He or she is not listening to any of your reasoning.
Yes.
Meanwhile, you are getting more frustrated. I'll give you an example. One time I was annoyed at my son, 10th grade, I think, so annoyed at something. And I'm like so frustrated, I'm crying. Like I am like sobbing. Aww. You don't care, you don't listen. And now my frustration is like making me even more, like hysterical.
Yes.
And I see him walk to my laundry room. We have a mirror there.
Yeah.
And before I know, he's fixing his hair. I am like, what? Yes. I am like, and then I looked at him and I said, Karthik, how can you be so insensitive? I'm crying and you're fixing your hair. And he just so innocently looked at me and he said, Mom, you just cry all the time.
Aww.
And you just extend your point so much. You're saying the same thing over and over for the past 20 minutes.
Yes.
So I just thought that, okay, I'll let you do whatever you have to do. But he lost interest, So we get all emotional and caught up. Meanwhile, they're too young. We call them kids for a reason, right? They're too young. Their attention span's too young. Whatever our logic and our reasoning is, they are far from it. If you catch them in the first 30 seconds, I'd say you celebrate the day. But if you try to hold on to their attention and keep explaining, you've lost the cause. And if anything, you've insulted yourself because your child's not listening to you. So coming to my next suggestion, I've decided, and I've been doing this for a while now, I avoid having a conversation. I try to text because I can hide my tone in my text. I will not see their tone, which is going to get me all hyper. And I will think and I will write something really as short and sweet as possible so that they can understand. They might not agree, they might not follow, but at least it'll get to them way better than me talking for a long time. So
To your point on like backing off and coming back with a strategy, I think that is very smart in the moment, and in the heat of the moment, so much happens within seconds. Within
yes,
seconds, you say things, they say things, and then the focus moves away from what initially happened and moves to something. And I've learned this as well, and I totally relate to it. This has happened to me as well, where I feel as parent, we're doing the best we can, and then we in the end screw it up by our inconsistent behavior and,
yes,
and our inability to self-regulate our emotions, and then expecting a 10-year-old child to behave maturely. So
right,
this is what I've been learning from you and from all the moms that I've been following, is to self-regulate your emotions first, because the child is learning from you, and then back off and not say hurtful things, and then apologize, and then it becomes a circle, and child gets it. They know, they
right,
mom will scream, mom will say sorry, mom will get angry, mom will say mean things, mom will say sorry. So they stop caring. They
yeah,
lectures. I grew up with a lot of lectures, and I realized that I'm also constantly telling them, if you're constantly telling your child the same thing, then you should ask yourself that the
yes,
strategy is not working. I should change it and stop wasting my energy. So much energy goes into that lecture, and the child gets, sits there, and then the more we do it, the worse it gets in terms
yes.
of
You
completely
actually
failing.
heard
Yeah.
the situation. And there was so many, I mean, the reason why I was, as I was telling that, my relationship with my kids was like so uncomfortable and unpleasant.
Mhm.
It's because we just so quickly, within seconds, we'd say something to each other
Yes.
that would just absolutely annoy us or make us so angry and agitated that we'd probably walk away
Yes.
or say even a whole bunch of more unreasonable stuff to each other. And while I'm preaching this, I probably had some sort of an disagreement with one of my kids yesterday or some.
Mm-hmm.
So even though I've realized it,
Mm-hmm.
but that's my next point here, that I think parents are being too harsh on themselves these days. I feel like,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's like so many labels floating around that are just like waiting to be pinned to a parent. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I hear on all the other Facebook groups, I hear,
Judgments. Yeah, a lot of judgment on
yeah,
parents.
parents are constantly accused of controlling and toxic and
Mm-hmm.
abusive and all of that. You know what? You're looking at one.
Mm-hmm.
I'm each and everything that you want to label out there.
Mm-hmm.
Like it or not, believe it or not, I'm a human being too.
Right.
You know, I
Right.
am trying to keep my composure. I am trying to keep my emotions in control.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm trying so hard to provide for my kids. My husband's doing the same thing. We're trying to deal with our own
Right.
relationship issues. Work and stress messes up every relationship.
Right.
It comes in,
Overwhelmed. Yeah,
right.
we're overwhelmed
So,
generation, anyways.
right. And then if there's one thing that I don't think this video is going to be watched by any kid, but my son, 25, just said this literally 4 days ago. He said, Mom, now that I'm a little mature, a little by little, I am kind of understanding that my parents are also human beings.
Yeah.
Because when I was young, that's what he was saying. He's like, when I was young, I just never, my mind just never, that's what immaturity is.
Yeah.
That's what
Yeah.
a kid is.
Yes.
He just never, thought that, my parents are reacting a certain way
Mhm.
because there
They're
could be
also
love
human.
happening in their life also. They could, or what the child is doing could be just absolutely like,
Right.
frying our brains and
True.
our heart, a lot of times.
Yes.
So if you do react unreasonable, of course, you always have to come back and make up for that.
Mhm.
My husband's much better at that than me. My kid's biggest complaint is that I'm very stubborn and I never mess up. Mom never makes any mistakes. That's what they say. I don't know. Maybe that's true. Maybe that's not. I kind of feel like I didn't do anything wrong. I was just trying to help a
Yeah.
situation.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to realize that too, so
Yeah.
parents need to take it a little easy, because on this journey of just trying to be perfect and not abusing your kid or hurting your kid or even saying a word that'll hurt their sentiment, and
Mm-hmm.
God, I don't know how parents who put that pressure on themselves
Yes. And
Um,
today's age, I mean, watching so many Insta videos that are teaching all the time, teaching you this is what you're doing wrong, and you relate to all of them. And then you start seeing like a mirror that this is something I need. Oh, this is me. This is me. Oh, I do that to my child. And then knowing is not doing. It takes practice. I
yeah,
know something doesn't mean I'll start doing it right away. And that practice period takes time. And then sometimes, and I say this to my friend, like we feel more frustrated, like still doing it after knowing it, right?
yeah,
But then for me, what personally works for me is I've picked one word or two words out of all the learnings that I've seen. And because I cannot work on 100 things at the same times, and it takes time to work on everything. So I picked kindness in as one of the words, that no matter what happens, I will try to be kind, because this is a kind of culture that our kids are learning at school,
right.
American culture in terms of parenting. And I've done a video on it, how is American culture different from Indian culture in terms of parenting. Indian parenting is a little harsh and very advice giving and very authoritative, very hierarchical, whereas American parenting is very communicative and open and kind as well. That's what I learned. So then my word is kind. So now that when I'm angry, I tell myself that I would say it when I feel like it. So going back and strategizing, to your point, and then trying to be kind. And if I'm not unkind, it's easier for me to catch that. I'm saying the right thing, but I'm being unkind. I'm being upset and saying it in a bad way. So that has helped me. But besides that, I totally understand that there's too much judgment on yourself, because you're
Yeah,
constantly being shown what other moms are doing. They're doing great, and I'm not doing anything. So that kind of pressurizes parents.
right. And I mean, I feel like I know that I'm just a different. I'm old school. My approach to life is probably different from what I see
Mm-hmm.
these days. What is wrong if the kid sees the bad side of a parent? Like,
Mm-hmm.
the
Mm-hmm.
child is going to go out,
Yes.
and as of today, we know that the world is not perfect.
Mm-hmm.
He or she's going to see all kinds of nasty things out there. I'm
True.
not saying that a parent should be nasty so that the child will
Right.
get used to it,
Right.
but I'm just saying that a lot of times when I throw a fit and I'm very unreasonable and I just yell and whatnot at
Right.
my kids,
Right.
and my kids are like, okay, now it's okay that you're unreasonable. Like, it's like, you know what, deal with it.
Yes.
I Because if I keep this bottled in,
Mm-hmm.
which to some extent I did on and off, I don't do it as much. I'm a very expressive person, and I don't believe in holding anything back.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, if I'm not expressing myself, it is going to get heavier on my heart and my mind,
Mm-hmm.
because I am going to hold that, that what, and when your kids are younger, it's things are not that serious, comparatively speaking.
Mm-hmm.
But as they get older, 15, 16, 18, 20, 22, there's serious stuff happening,
Right.
their careers or their relationships
Right.
with their own better halves. A lot comes into play. You can't just be sitting back and thinking, oh, I'm not going to say this just
Mm-hmm.
so my kid doesn't get offended.
Right.
No, at some point you have to call it as you see it.
Mm-hmm.
Because, and when I say that, my kids are like, oh, thanks, mom, for like, I was just feeling good about this, and now you just put a doubt in my mind. I'm like, sorry, but it's better that I put a doubt in your mind
Yes.
than you go and make a fool out of yourself outside.
Mm-hmm.
Not every time when something negative is said to you as a
Mm-hmm.
child,
Right.
it
Right.
does not mean to hurt you or
Mm-hmm.
harm you.
Right. Right.
Something that you don't like to listen, and
Mm-hmm.
just because it's unpleasant does
Mm-hmm.
not mean it should not be said to you. You
Right.
should be willing to, listen to other people's
Right.
thoughts, even if they're not matching with your own.
Mm-hmm.
That's life. This is going to
Right.
happen in every relationship going forward.
Right.
You will see disagreement and unpleasantness.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to protect you.
Mm-hmm.
And if it is me that gets unpleasant sometimes,
Mm-hmm.
accept me, because I'm a human being too.
Right.
I get unreasonable and unpleasant.
Right, right, right. That's very true. That's very true. See the human side. I mean, that's inevitable. Every family gets to see that each other
Yeah,
trigger points, each other's angry side, and to allow the kid to have that space as well, like when you're having a meltdown versus when you are constant like doing it over and over. I feel for parents what I was trying to say was also कि सही बात को सही तरीके से कह दो ना,
हाँ,
that is the best way to do,
right,
क्योंकि कई बार सही बात गलत तरीके से कही जाती है तो वो गलत हो जाती है, और गलत बात सही तरीके से कोई कह दे तो वो सही लगती है. सो
right,
दैट इज द ओनली थिंग. बाकी हाँ, बच्चों को सब दिखना तो पड़ता ही है, लाइक गुस्सा, प्यार, सब कुछ दे हैव टू ग्रो
right.
इन रियल
Coming back,
वर्ल्ड.
coming back to what you were saying is what you say is very important. How you say it is equally important, and when you say it is also super important. The few things that I have changed, that's one of them. Like, for example, earlier when my kid would walk in the house from school and threw the bag on the floor.
Right, right,
Common thing that happens probably in every
right,
household,
yeah,
right? The
yeah,
shoes are out, the smelly socks are out,
very
and the
relatable, yeah, yeah.
right? And I'd be like, pick that up right now, right? And my child doesn't pick it up right now. I'd be like, oh, if I don't check him right now, coming back to what I just said, if I don't check him right now, this is going to become a routine. But
Right,
guess what?
right.
It stayed a routine anyway.
Yeah,
I was like,
yeah,
I lectured him, टोकना, like मैंने उसको 100 बार टोका, वो फिर भी होता ही रहा.
right.
If I had probably done it at another time, right? If I had just found a time when I could grab his attention or her attention and done it, probably it would have worked. But again, my younger self did not realize that.
Right.
My younger self was like, अभी इसको करना पड़ेगा, अगर अभी इसने नहीं किया तो ये जिंदगी भर अपना बैग नहीं उठाएगा. उसने जिंदगी भर वैसे ही अपना बैग नहीं उठाया.
True.
So
That's true. Yeah.
just finding the right time to say it. And then I also learned that every time, and this works better with my daughter because she's a little sensitive. Every time when I approach my child, no matter what I have cooking in my brain, or like I could be like super annoyed with something, but I always find it in myself to say something positive for it. Now, this is a new way for me.
Yes.
My parents never did that. They something came to them, they said it right there, right? But now I'm again learning and tweaking this. So now when I see her, I'll say something super nice, very flattery, try to like literally butter her up so that I get her attention in a positive way. And then gently I'd be like, oh, and then when you're done that, honey, can you please empty the dishwasher? Earlier I would never do that. Earlier my thing would be, as soon as she came down, beta dishwasher khali karo.
Right.
Even my tone would be like,
yes,
karo, right?
Yes. Oh yeah, I have that. I'm from Haryana. I have a very वो जो थी ना कि ये करना है भाई, वो करना है, like order चलाने वाली tone लगती है वो. But then I have also learned by observing the culture that we live in कि यहाँ पर ऐसे नहीं बात करते हैं लोग. So I have just, and it's good. I like it. I mean, I like कि इतनी energy नहीं spend होती है.
Right, right.
It takes less energy to do that. Yeah.